You're listening to the P.A.C.E Radio Network here at PACERadio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely.
Good morning, it's January the 30th, and welcome to Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News. I'm live here at PACERadio.net and 420pace.ca. Glenn is obviously not with me today, and Glenn is, well, I can just say he's headed to a much warmer climate. He's posted this morning on Facebook. He is off to Costa Rica for the next month or so. So he's headed down to a nice warm climate, and I hope they have him and his wife Cindy have a great time. And I'm sure I'll get some reports back from him. He'll let us know what's going on, how the weather is. I'm sure getting little jabs in every once in a while, sitting on the beach where it's nice and warm, where we're out here shoveling snow. It's never fun. But at least today, hopefully, it won't be shoveling snow. It's a little bit overcast out there, a little bit of sun coming in too. So hopefully it turns out to be a nice day. And talking about nice days, I got news today. Let's see, I got right from here in Canada. I got U.S. news, stuff from Estonia, and let's see, some studies as well, and some psychedelic news. So here we go. I'll get started. First story up comes to me from StratCan. Headline there says, province raids 2 unlicensed cannabis stores in Vancouver. That's right. This hit the news yesterday. 2 unlicensed cannabis stores in Vancouver were raided by the BC Community Safety Unit on January the 29th, according to store owner Dana Larson in a series of posts on social media. Larson operates the cannabis stores, the dispensary at 649 East Hastings, and the medicinal cannabis dispensary over at 1182 Thurl. Both of them are in Vancouver. Now, in a post on X, Larson says he plans to reopen today, January the 30th. The raid seized all of his products, 2 stores too, but no arrests were reported, and the Vancouver Police Department was not immediately available for any, provide any information. Dana posted some stuff on X and let us know that they had taken all his stuff, and his mushroom dispensaries were not touched. Just the cannabis ones were. BC's Community Safety Unit, which is the CSU, is the provincial agency charged with monitoring and enforcing the province's retail cannabis rules and regulations. CSU's investigators can conduct compliance and enforcement activities against unlicensed cannabis retailers and other illegal sellers across the province. The CSU can undertake various enforcement activities, including or against unlicensed cannabis retailers, including inspections, issuing tickets, obtaining warrants, conducting various seizures, and more. The CSU can also recommend the prosecution of offenses under the Cannabis Control and Licensing Act. But from what we've seen, all they do is seem to come in, take all the product, and then turn around, find out the value of the product that they took, and then take that amount, double it up, and that's the fine that they issue to the owner of the location. So there's never any charges going on. It just seems to come in, take people's stuff, fine them. Some people call it stealing, so who knows? In the past, they've issued significant fines to the owners of unlicensed cannabis stores based on the valuation of the product seized, just as I said. Now, as of December 29th of 2024, the CSU had conducted 367 education visits of unlicensed cannabis stores, resulting in the closing of 238 of them, with 115 total seizures. Most of those 367 education visits were in the Lower Mainland, while 109 were on Vancouver Island, 80 were in the interior, and 28 were in the northern BC. The total value of the cannabis seized by the CSU, $38.9 million. So basically $39 million. The majority was seized in 2021. The owners of an unlicensed cannabis store in BC recently lost their appeal of a $118,000 fine from the BC government following a raid by the CSU of their unlicensed store. Now, the Victoria Cannabis Buyers Club, everybody knows Ted Smith and the group that are there. They've been operating since the 1990s. They were issued a $3.2 million fine from the province back in 24. The province had previously proposed to fine the VBC and Ted Smith a combined $6.5 million for selling cannabis without a license, including $3.2 million directly to Ted himself. And unlicensed cannabis stores on Comox, First Nation and Comox faced several enforcement sanctions from the CSU in 2024. Now, what you did not hear me say in all those numbers that were provided to the writer, for the writer to do this, no charges. All that $39 million worth of cannabis, but no charges. It just doesn't make sense. Hey, Gordo. Gordo says good afternoon to you. I don't know where you're located, Gordo, but good afternoon to you. It's still morning here in Canada. But thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate it. All righty. Gonna go on to the next story of the day here, and just let me get the right button lined up. Almost turned off the camera there. We don't really want to be doing that, do we? All right, there we go. This is a bit of a follow-up. What's going on down in the U.S. when it comes to the rescheduling of cannabis? The headline from Marijuana Moment says congressional researchers say it's unknown if marijuana will be rescheduled under Trump, whose approach to cannabis remains to be seen. The article starts off with, it remains to be seen how President Donald Trump will navigate cannabis policy in his second term, and it's unknown whether the DEA will finalize the proposed rule to reschedule cannabis, according to congressional researchers. Now, in an analysis published last week that broadly overviews the Federal Controlled Substances Act, and the Congressional Research Service discussed a number of cannabis-specific issues for lawmakers to consider as the 119th Congress gets underway. Now, the report says, recent years saw developments in cannabis laws and policies, including a growing divergence between federal and state marijuana laws. 2022 presidential grant of clemency for federal and DC cannabis possession offenses, and 2024 DEA rulemaking proceedings proposed to reschedule cannabis under the CSA. What's uncertain, however, is what's next to come under Trump's second term, a question top of mind for advocates and stakeholders. Some are holding out hope that the president's endorsements of rescheduling cannabis industry banking access and the 2024 Florida legalization ballot initiative during the campaign, which, by the way, I saw one report saying that one senator has said that Trump was, when it comes to that vote, was tricked into voting for it, as well as his stated support for states' rights to set their own cannabis laws, which motivate the GOP-controlled Congress to take action. Others are skeptical, pointing to anti-cannabis leadership in both the House and Senate, as well as controversial administration figures like the acting head of DEA, who has made substantial claims about cannabis use and repeatedly criticized the rescheduling process that unfolded under the Biden administration. Now, it says here, the CRS says that it remains to be seen which approach President Trump's second administration will take towards cannabis regulation. the number of DEA's cannabis arrests fell even during the first Trump administration. So what's going to happen there? We know how the first things went there with Sessions, didn't go well. So the researchers also said it is unknown whether DOJ will finalize the proposal, and if so, what controls the agency would impose on cannabis. Get Bob up there. To that point, although Justice Department started moving forward on the proposal to reclassify cannabis as Schedule III drug under the CSA, it is ultimately up to the DEA to finalize that rule, and administrative hearings on the issue have been delayed amid legal challenges. Now, in recent years, the DOJ has pursued cannabis prosecutions in the context of large-scale trafficking operations or gang-related activity. The Biden administration, DOJ, did not issue further guidance on cannabis policy, but Attorney General Merrick Garland indicated that the agency would not prioritize prosecuting individuals for personal use of marijuana. Now, the CRS also pointed out that while presidents can issue pardons related to the cannabis offenses, as former President Joe Biden did, and I know Trump did in his last administration, the president lacks the power to move cannabis out of its Schedule I status unilaterally. So he can't sign an executive order to change it by the looks of it. Perhaps the most straightforward way to change the substance legal status under the CSA is for Congress to pass legislation, according to the report. They said if Congress wishes to change the legal status of cannabis, they could do so before or after the DOJ makes any final scheduling concern. Well, Congress, let's get her done. As CRS has noted in past analysis, reclassifying cannabis as a Schedule III drug without other legal changes would not bring the state legal, medical, or recreational cannabis industry into compliance with federal controlled pop-up. It wants to keep popping up there. Separately, Trump's pick of Attorney General, former federal Attorney General Pam Bondi, is declining to say how she plans to navigate key marijuana policy issues, including the ongoing rescheduling. Meanwhile, lawmakers prepare to once again take up large-scale agriculture legislation in the new session, and CRS also recently provided an overview of the policy landscape around hemp, emphasizing the divides around various cannabis-related proposals among legislators, stakeholders, and advocates. Let's see, this story is going to keep going. There we go. We're at the end of the story. So yeah, we don't know what's going to happen. It's obviously something that I'm keeping a track on here for the news, is what is going to happen. Is cannabis going to stay federally illegal and just remain as a state thing, which I've said in the past I have some concerns with, being that people would still be prosecuted for cannabis in states for a joint, whereas other states, people will be running businesses and operating as a legal product that can be sold. And it's an uneven distribution of a law across the country, and it should be done federally. It allows so much. It'd be so much more benefit. And just so you know, last point on this, there is another news article out there. It refers to Matt Gaetz and his cannabis, and he says that the Republicans are on the wrong side of the cannabis issue. So even the Republicans, if somebody as Trump felt should have been the Attorney General, has said that the Republicans are on the wrong side of the cannabis issue, and let's just hope that things change. So, all righty. Let's move on to the next story. This one is coming to me from someplace where I've never been to. News Erie, I guess is what it's called. And the headline, that's what happens when you double click on something. It just doesn't show up when it's supposed to. So I got to start all over again. Sorry, folks. That just happens. So here we go. Headline says Estonian psychiatrists want to update use of psychedelics in mental health care. There we go. Another country that wants to bring psychedelics into the fold. A group of Estonian psychiatrists and civic activists believe that allowing the therapeutic use of currently prohibited psychedelic substances could help alleviate the country's ongoing mental health crisis. Now, according to a representative from the Estonian Medicines Agency, the scientific study of psychedelics is legal in Estonia. However, due to their novelty, it is necessary to carefully evaluate the balance between the risks and benefits. Psychedelics likely evoke associations for many readers, like illicit narcotics and their misuse, whether it be hippies of the 1960s who used LSD, electronic dance music enthusiasts consuming MDMA, or mushroom foragers in Venezuela seeking psilocybin. Those complex compounds are just a few examples of psychoactive substances that induce altered states of consciousness characterized by changes in perception, thinking, mood, and cognition. It is also precisely these effects that lead many doctors and researchers to see therapeutic potential in them. As the use of psychedelics has a long history, so does their scientific study. The first wave of research into the potential of psychedelic substances for mental health treatment emerged in the 1950s, 75 years ago, folks, in the 60s. This momentum was halted by the administration of the U.S. President Richard Nixon, which viewed the use of psychedelics as a root cause of any anti-Vietnam War sentiment and societal divides, and this era also marked the beginning of a broader war on drugs in the United States. Now, a second wave of research began in the 1990s and continues today. For instance, MDMA has now reached phase 3 of clinical trials for the treatment of PTSD. At this stage, a larger group of patients, participants in studies, and drugs' effectiveness is compared against existing treatments or placebos. Similarly, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration recently advanced LSD. Who would have ever thought that? For the treatment of generalized anxiety disorder and psilocybin, which shows promising results in combating depression. But to the same critical stage before a drug can apply for market authorization. Now, the FDA has designed all three substances, MDMA, LSD, and psilocybin, or designated them, as breakthrough therapies. The status reflects the significant therapeutic potential researchers see in these medicines, allowing their study data to be processed on an expedient basis. Let's move this along quickly, folks. The topic is not unfamiliar in Estonia either. Last week, the Foundation of Development and Innovation of Psychedelic Therapy, I'll call it TAP, I guess, held its opening seminar in Tallinn. The foundation aims to promote a science-based approach to psychedelic-assisted therapy in Estonia. Specifically, its mission is to advance the use of psychedelics either as a primary therapeutic intervention or as tools to support therapeutic treatments. Now, according to Vijay Veed, he's the chair of TAP's supervisory board and is a psychiatrist. The foundation was established to raise awareness around the existence and necessity of this field. There remains a lack of understanding both at the level of agencies and even among physicians, Veed explained. He added that TAP is part of a pan-European network representing Estonia, alongside professional organizations such as the European Psychiatric Association. Now, according to Anne Kleinberg, chair of the board of Estonian Psychiatric Association, the need for new treatment methods stems from the poor state of mental health support. Access to care today is insufficient. All existing treatment options have their limitations. For instance, antidepressants, which are the most widely used, are at most 60% effective, and 1/3 of patients do not respond to standard treatment. So if 60% allows existing treatment to go through, if 60% of people on these studies with the LSD and stuff find benefits, then obviously they should be approved as well. In addition, antidepressants work slowly. In Kleinberg's view, it typically takes at least a month for a patient's condition to improve, symptoms to subside, meaning they cannot provide quick relief for those in severe distress. Both Kleinberg and Veed noted that some mental health conditions leave psychiatrists with virtually no effective treatment options. One of the most striking examples is in Estonia is alcohol addiction, especially when alcohol use is accompanied by co-occurring disorders such as PTSD and depression. It is extremely difficult for a doctor to treat these with the methods currently available, according to Kleinberg. Now, Veeds says research shows that psychedelic-assisted therapy could help many individuals. For example, it could benefit those suffering from chronic depression that is resistant to conventional treatments or struggling with anxiety disorders that therapy and medication fail to address. Psychedelics may also be used for treating addiction, whether the substance involved is alcohol, nicotine, cocaine, or heroin. However, psychiatrists caution that psychedelics are unstable for individuals with certain conditions, and cannabis is the same way, including psychotic disorders, bipolar disorder, or severe personality disorders. They are also not recommended for those with conditions such as intellectual disabilities, maybe not even speech disabilities, or dementia, where physical changes or abnormalities to the brain are present. Now, I'm not even halfway through this story, but so I'm just going to shut it down there now. But it's good to see that it's in Estonia that they are doing research on psychedelics, which is good. Oh, I just got a message sent to me. This comes from Buddy Weeds. And it says, "Good morning, Alan." Put it on the screen here. It says, "I'm not sure if you have heard or not, but Sam the Skunk Man passed away a couple days ago. He just on the VAC, the Veterans Action Council, just recently did an interview with Sam the Skunk Man, and I'm going to say it just aired here on the P.A.C.E Radio Network within the last week or two. And Gordo says, rest in peace, Sam. Yes, rest in peace. Thanks for passing that on, Buddy Weeds. No, I hadn't heard. I wasn't aware of that. Yeah, rest in peace, Sam. And let's take a moment here. Yeah, it's never good. All right, people. I'm going to move on with the news, and I'll take a look during break. This is my last story before the break, so I'll take a quick look and see if I can find anything on that, and we'll go from there. All right, here we go. Last story, as I said before break. This is not just alcohol sales drop and anxiety medication prescriptions plummet in states with legal cannabis programs, and this comes to me from cannabis.net. Story says, the legalization of cannabis has sparked a significant shift in the landscape of mental health treatment, particularly concerning anxiety disorders. Recent studies have indicated a notable decrease in prescriptions for the anti-anxiety medications, especially I'm just going to call it benzos because I can't pronounce those, in states where cannabis has been legalized. The phenomenon raises important questions about the implications of pharmaceutical companies that have long dominated the market for anxiety treatments. In this article, we have explored the connections between legal cannabis and the decline in anxiety medication prescriptions, delve into the broader implications for the pharmaceutical industry, and consider that this means for patients and healthcare providers. Well, I'm reading this and I think back, when I was younger, I couldn't speak in public, and I have a speech impediment, and that's probably partially why. And here I am today speaking to you guys. And so maybe cannabis helps there with my anxiety of speaking to people publicly. Anxiety disorders are among the most common mental health issues affecting millions of individuals worldwide. According to the World Health Organization, anxiety disorders affect approximately 264 million people globally. These disorders encompass a range of conditions, including generalized anxiety disorder, which is GAD, social anxiety disorder, panic depression, and specific phobias. Symptoms can vary widely, but often include excessive worry, restlessness, fatigue, difficulty concentrating, and physical symptoms such as increased heart rate and sweating. Historically, treatment options for anxiety disorders have included psychotherapy and pharmacotherapy. Common pharmacological treatments include benzos. Yeah, I've never been on them, but I've heard about a 7-year-old boy who was on them. Medications, such as Valium, Ativan, and Xanax are frequently prescribed for short-term relief of acute anxiety symptoms. While effective, these medications carry risks of dependency and withdrawal symptoms. Selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, which are SSRIs, they are like serotonin, which is Zoloft, Prozac, and others, often used as first-line treatments for chronic anxiety disorders. I know somebody used to wear a shirt that said, "Cannabis is my Prozac." Cognitive behavior therapy. This is a form of psychotherapy is widely regarded as an effective treatment for anxiety disorders. Despite their effectiveness, many patients experience side effects from these medications or find them inefficient in managing the symptoms. As a result, there is a growing interest in alternative treatments, including legal cannabis. Now, in recent years, various states in the U.S. have moved forward towards legalizing cannabis for both medical and recreational use. There's like 40 of them or something like that. Now, as of 2023, over states have legalized it for medical marijuana. I believe it's like 37 is where it's at, somewhere around that 40 line. Well, several others have legalized it for recreational use. Now, cannabis contains numerous compounds, as we know, THC and CBD. They say that research suggests that CBD can help anxiety symptoms without the side effects commonly associated with traditional anti-anxiety medications. A study back in 2019, published in the Permanent Journal, found that CBD significantly reduced anxiety scores in a group of patients without a month of treatment. Now, a groundbreaking study in JAMA Network Open examined prescription data from states that legalized cannabis. The researchers found that states with medical cannabis laws experienced a 12.4% reductions in benzo prescriptions. Nice. While those recreational laws saw a 15.2% decrease. This data suggests that patients may be substituting cannabis for traditional anti-anxiety medications. Now, several factors may contribute to patients' decision to turn to legal cannabis. Now, the perceived safety. So many individuals view cannabis as a safer alternative to benzos due to the latter's association with dependency and withdrawal symptoms. Patients often report positive experience with cannabis in managing their anxiety symptoms, leading them to prefer it over conventional medications. Cannabis is often perceived. Oh, I just got a cat making noises here. Okay. I've just lost my spot there. Or perceived as a part of a more holistic approach to health that includes lifestyle changes, mindful practices, and alternative therapies. And I thought something was going on with my fireplace there for a second. Now, in states where cannabis is legal, obtaining it may be easier than navigating the healthcare system to secure prescription for additional medication. So there's 4 good reasons. Now, the decline in benzo prescriptions linked to legal cannabis pose significant challenges for pharmaceutical companies that produce these medications. Well, if patients are getting better with cannabis. So they say these are key implications. market dynamics. As more patients seek cannabis as an alternative treatment for anxiety, pharmaceutical companies may face reduced demand for the products. If people find an alternative, it works. This shift could lead to decreased revenue. Yeah, that's right. Because people found something that they can grow and do themselves. Why would they want to pay for something? Now, they say pharmaceutical companies may need to adapt by investing in research related to cannabis-based therapies and develop new products to incorporate cannabinoids. Some companies are already exploring synthetic cannabinoids, and that's where it's going to. Pharmaceutical version of cannabis is what they want. The evolving legal landscape surrounding cannabis presents regulatory challenges for pharmaceutical companies. As more states legalize cannabis, they may be increasing scrutiny regarding its safety and efficacy, broader for traditional medications. Now, broader implications for mental health treatment. They say that the rise of legal cannabis as a treatment option signals a potential shift in how mental health care is approached. They say healthcare providers may begin incorporating cannabis into treatment plans alongside traditional therapies. They say that the growing acceptance of cannabis reflects a broader trend towards patient-centered care models that prioritize patients' preferences and experiences in treatment decisions. And that as patients increasingly seek information about cannabis as a treatment option, healthcare providers must be equipped with knowledge about its benefits and risks to guide informed decision making. And this is why we always say, like, this should be taught to doctors when they're coming through school, learning all about the cannabinoid system and learning about cannabis and how it can help people. And then they don't have, that lack of knowledge for the doctors. Now, they say potential risks and considerations. The cannabis industry is less regulated than pharmaceuticals, leading to concerns about legal product quality, dosing accuracy, and potential contaminants. Responses to cannabis can vary widely among individuals, due to factors such as genetics, tolerance levels, and underlying health conditions. While many individuals can use cannabis responsibly, there is potential for misuse or over-reliance on it as a coping mechanism. Well, I know I'm not a stat when it comes to opiates. Now, they say the conclusion, the link between legal cannabis and decreased prescriptions for anti-anxiety medication marks a significant development in mental health treatment paradigms as more patients turn to cannabis as an alternative therapy. Pharmaceutical companies must adapt to the changing landscape by reevaluating those strategies, investing in research related to cannabinoid-based treatments. I know that there's some out there right now that are available that people can buy, and people aren't finding the fact. As one researcher said in one of the documentaries, he says, "I've never had a patient say to me that I prefer the pharmaceutical version of cannabis over the whole plant medicine." So I got another message here from Buddy Weeds. Buddy Weeds says that sad days for the cannabis community. Yes. Yeah, that's right. Okay, I'm going to take a break. I see I'm running a little long there, and I'm going to run off for about, 3 or 4 minutes at the most. And first I'm going to run a little promo, and then we'll get into the commercial. But other than that, you're watching Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News. I'm here at PACEradio.net as well as 420pace.ca. You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at PACEradio.net.
Legacy 420 have an awesome array of cannabis-infused beverages, from pop to Nature's Nectar's teas, all in amazing flavors. What a selection! We even have a delicious mango-infused juice, and let me tell you, it's delicious.
Everything is infused in-house, so we buy our syrup from, the same place where everybody else buys their syrup for their pop, and the infusion is done in the lab. It's all canned here, labeled here, produced 100% on Tyndonega.
We have two lines of drinks. One is called our Nature's Nectar. That was our original line that we came out with. And then we also have a line under the Red-E brand. We have them in 10 milligrams, 30 milligram, and 60 milligram cans.
What a great selection for a get-together with friends or after a long day. Remember, if you want to wet your whistle with on-site lab-tested products, come see your trusted partner. Legacy 420 out on your road.
Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. Open Monday to Friday from 10 till 7 p.m. or by chance. Check out our flags, our t-shirts, plus our hats. And look of that supply of rolling papers, plus much more. We've got bongs and your favorite herbal vaporizers. Look at all the incense we have, as well as for those who collect knives, check out these knives in our collection. And while you're here, stop in to see Shay at the piercing room, where you can get poked by Shay. Daily deals, check them out. Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford, Ontario. Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. Are you looking for non-stop, continuous cannabis and psychedelic programming? If you are, then turn your browsers to 420radio.ca or PACEradio.net, where you will find the 420 Pace re-rolled Saturday. Everything gets started at 8 a.m. Eastern Saturday morning. You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at PACEradio.net. All right, you're watching Psychedelics and Cannabis Education and News, and because of Buddy Weeds, I went looking during the break to get a story on what he told us, the passing of Sam the Skunk Man. Legendary cannabis breeder David Watson, a.k.a. Sam the Skunk Man, has died. This story comes to me from the Cannabis Business Times. It was the first one that showed up on my feed when I went looking there during the break. I'm sure there'll be more than one of them, but here we go. David Paul Watson, known in the cannabis community as Sam the Skunk Man, for his breeding expertise, including the developing world-renowned cultivar Skunk Number 1, died on January the 27th. Watson and his wife of 54 years, Diane, were en route to spending a month with friend Todd McCormick, a longtime cannabis activist and fellow breeder, who announced the death Tuesday morning on social media. His passion for cannabis and contributions to the cannabis community are legendary, McCormick wrote. He was my friend, my teacher, and one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. Please light one up and smoke one for the Skunk Man, because some of his work is most likely in the cannabis you're burning today. Watson departed this world as a husband, as a father of 2 daughters, and as a grandfather. He was also the patriarch of the entire cannabis industry. Fellow breeder Ryan Lee of Chimera Genetics told Cannabis Business Times Lee spent Tuesday with Diana helping to make family arrangements in the wake of Watson's death. Lee says that I called David the cannabis silverback because he was kind of the big gorilla in the whole pack, and I don't think he meant it in an aggressive way, but he has always liked to make it be known that he has been there and done it first. And in reality, he had always been there and done it first. People are still doing things and replicating work that he did 20 years ago. Triploids and polyploid cannabis and all this kind of stuff. So he really was the founding father of the industry, of the entire industry, both the seed industry and the medical industry. Watson's knowledge and passion for the cannabis plant, wanting to know everything and everyone associated with this advancement, placed him as a central atom of the present day cannabis story, Lee said. Although this unmatched thirst, Watson became a mentor to many and a friend to even more. The news of his death has been met with condolences throughout the industry. He was larger than life, Marcus Bubbleman Richardson, who's known Watson for more than 25 years, said Tuesday on social media. I will never forget the email he sent me to introduce himself to me, Richardson says, or wrote. I knew immediately who it was, and I was blown away he was contacting me. Little did I know what he would develop, that we would develop a friendship and mutual respect for one another. He was truly a father figure to me, and I will never forget him. Now my thoughts are with Diane, his wife and best friend for over 50 years. I loved you, brother. I will never, ever forget you. Richardson added, You made me a better hash maker. Of that there is no doubt. I will carry the lessons and learnings you shared with me for the rest of my life. And I look forward to the day where I see you again to smash endless dabs out of a fat roar bong. Bless you, Sam. We love you. As American cannabis breeder, Watson is also credited for developing haze and among other popular cultivars. In addition, Watson is known for contributing to horticultural research on pests and plant diseases, alongside Robert Clark, a writer, photographer, ethnobotanist, plant breeder, and textile collector. Watson co-wrote, along with Clark and John McPartland, the book Hemp Disease and Pests. Watson and Clark began working together in the 1970s, and each contributed published work on cannabis cultivation and breeding that helped lay a foundation of expertise for the cannabis community. In 1979, Blotter magazine published an article Watson wrote under the pen name Silgaji. It's Jingles spelled backwards. Okay. That was titled Sun, Soil, Seeds, and Soul. Just part of what it takes to grow righteous, potent, sticky California cannabis. Jingles was another alias for Watson, with the genesis for that nickname going back to the 1960s, Lee said. David was quite a hippied out dude in the late 60s and 70s, and he had these little bells on his shoes and pants, so everywhere he walked he jingled, Lee says, and that actually became his name. His hippie nickname was Jingles. In the article from 1979, Watson discussed growing cultivars adapted to California's climate, as well as those with traits associated with democratic regions from around the world. Also, he provided key knowledge of best cultivation practices and detailed breeding techniques in the article. For 10,000 years, and until fairly recently, most cannabis improvements have been by selection and acclimatization. That is, by choosing of the best plant, he wrote in the article. And I know I do that myself. Now, at the least, this has been done by selection of the plant closest to the traits desired and a rejection of all the others. In the 1970s and early 80s, Watson and Clark ran breeding projects in the U.S., meeting with fellow horticultural authorities, Mel Frank and Ed Rosenthal. while yielding seeds and breeding parents that were selected to make lines that are around today, according to the Beard Bros media. Specifically, Watson work is connected to one of the earliest cannabis seed companies to gain notoriety in the U.S., Sacred Seed Collective. This company was instrumental in developing the early cannabis hybrids that helped transform American homegrown cannabis from a ditchweed laughingstock to the envy of the world, according to High Desert Relief. In those early years, Watson was among a group of missionaries in California's counterculture who often traveled the world looking for unique land races of cannabis, according to the New York Times. The most influential of these collectors was a man named David Watson, the Times reported in 2020. In the early 70s, Mr. Watson sold his possessions and began hitchhiking from Morocco to India, befriending local pot growers along the way. Now, skunk number one, the cultivar, which Watson shares his alliance with after being involved in its prototype, is a hybrid of Afghani indica, Mexican sativa, and Colombian gold sativa, according to Leafly. Skunk number one won the inaugural High Times Cannabis Cannabis Cup in 1988. In 1985, Watson left Santa Cruz, California, according to Vice, and moved to Amsterdam. Months later, with a box claimed to have some 250,000 seeds. In 1986, he began Cultivar's Choice, Amsterdam's first cannabis seed company. Haze and skunk weren't the only lineages Watson took overseas to breed and develop. Mojave Richmond, a developer of many awarded series varieties, told Cannabis Business Times. Watson brought skunk number one, Haze, California Orange, Early Girl, and Afghan number one, and Durban Poison, which both came from Mel Frank Richmond, confirmed. These varieties invigorated the Dutch cannabis scene, and an infinite number of hybrid resulting from the following years. And I know I've grown some of those: Durban Poison, Early Girl, and the skunk number one. After meeting with the missionaries in Amsterdam, skunk number one became a staple in seed banks throughout the Netherlands capital, as the Dutch remained at the forefront of global cannabis scene throughout the 1990s. Watson went on to found Harno Farm BV, a medical cannabis corporation, in 1992 in Amsterdam, working with Clark to create a genetic library with seeds from around the globe to breed hybrids with desirable traits, according to the High Desert Relief. The company was licensed by the Dutch Ministry of Health for 3 years to conduct scientific research on cannabis. Watson had the ability to navigate the legal system and obtain licenses in foreign countries where the nationals of that country weren't able to jump through those same hoops, which created jealousy in Holland, Lee says. So there are a lot of resentment and distrust among David, which we will be able to find online in some form of people thinking that he was his DEA or CEA agent. Well, some people say we all have our lovers and haters. Lee goes on to say that there was all this silly stuff that was said about him. Of course, none of which was true. But they created this alternative persona for David that was based on this idea that he was an informant. And all this nonsensical stuff has no basis in reality. And the funny part was that they just misunderstood. Now, at Horta Farm, Watson established a research team led by Dr. Anante Demar, which was the first to use silver thiophosphate as a breeding method to self-cannabis plants and create single cannabinoid cultivars, according to Vancouver-based Segra International Corp., which Watson joined as an advisory board member in 2018. And that spray that is, they use that for feminized seeds. By the late 1990s, Horta Farms successfully bred single cannabinoid cultivars. That led to a partnership with Dr. Jeffrey Guy, founder and chairman of GW Pharmaceuticals. Through a licensing agreement, Harder Farm provided its genetics to GW Pharma, along with organic cultivation and integrated pest management expertise. Through this partnership, GW Pharma produced 2 cannabinoid-based pharmaceutical medicines approved for the U.S., Salvetex and Epidiolex. Salvetex is a mouth spray, and Epidiolex is used to treat seizures in young children, including Lennox gastric syndrome. Intervets. Now, Harder Farm leads the world in its understanding of cannabis botany and has built up over many years the most extensive living library of medicinal cannabis varieties, Watson said in July of 1988. As soon as the Dr. Guy's clinical research indicates the exact desired composition, our scientists can breed and register new medicinal varieties. Watson and Clark also founded the International Hemp Association in 1993, which published this scholarly journal dedicated to hemp agronomy research. Agronomy. The founding of that association further exemplified how far ahead of his time Watson was, according to Lee. Now, he says that the founding premise of the International Hemp Association was the dissemination of information regarding cannabis in all forms, medicinal, industrial, and recreational. It wasn't just pre-state legalization. It was pre-countries all over the world, even accepting hemp. Forget drug cannabis. Back then, even growing hemp in most of the world was restricted. The purpose of the International Hemp Association was to share information about the cannabis plant in general, Lee says. Before various countries legalized cannabis production of hemp, such as Canada did in 1998, government researchers contacted the International Hemp Association. Watson, who had a catalog of dozens of hemp varieties, would send the researchers large samples of each variety to allow them to have a diverse collection of hemp germ plasma to start their trials to see which varieties might work best in their region. There he is right there, giving the thumbs up. One of Watson's notable attributes was that he was always willing to share information freely, and he always had his finger on the button when it came to most up-to-date research in the community, Lee says. He was a beautiful man, incredibly intelligent, and singularly focused on cannabis. If you were interested in cannabis and forwarding the plant and doing work with the plant, and especially if you had the finest quality of hashish, he'd be interested in being your friend and speaking to you. If you didn't have anything to do with cannabis and you weren't interested in cannabis, he wanted literally nothing to do with you. Cannabis or nothing, folks. Family arrangements to pay tribute to Watson's life were still being finalized as of Wednesday morning. However, Lee said one of Watson's wishes was to have his ashes shared with his friends, and that those friends use the ashes in their next cannabis crop. Half of his ashes will stay in California, while the other half will go back to Europe to be distributed. Lee says, to me, David is cannabis. In that act of his ashes, he is going to become cannabis. So there you go. I didn't know how long that story would be or much about it. As I said, I grabbed through the break, and it had all kinds of history and everything of what David did. Now, I got a bunch of comments here, about 6 comments during that, so I'm just going to show them here. According to Gordo, he says tribute to Sam the Legend is on Hash Church this Sunday, so tune in, people. Buddy Weed says thoughts and prayers for his family. We were lucky to have him in our time on this earth. Such a blessing to cannabis and people's lives that it changed. Gordo says 100% spot on, Buddy Weeds, and they share hi back to each other, Gordo and Buddy Weeds. It's good to see them communicating in the chat. And Buddy Weeds says, "Well read, Al." Thank you, Buddy Weeds. I had a bunch of other stories that I was going to cover today, and when I saw Buddy Weeds post that, I thought I have to get on that and we look for that story. So thanks for letting me know, Buddy Weeds. I'm going to do one more story and then end the news, and we'll go from there. All right. So here we go. Last story of the day. And this one comes to me from CBC News, and a bit of a chuckle here. I'm not sure on a chuckle or what, but headline says, expel student. Okay, student's been expelled. Sues the BC Montessori school principal over cannabis gummy debacle. I say funny because the student is suing the school, which is, you don't normally, hear that going on. But yeah, I read this story earlier. So here we go. It was supposed to be a 3-night trip for students of a BC private school to zip line, camp, and explore Vancouver Island's rugged mountain wilderness. But it was cut short for 3 students who were caught eating cannabis gummies, according to a lawsuit filed by one of the students. The principal, Westmount Montessori School, and the organization that runs it are facing a defamation lawsuit after the student, who was 12 at the time, was expelled, allegedly called a drug trafficker, and exposed for the incident in a mass email sent to the parents of every student in his class, says the lawsuit. They're not, just so you know, they're not going to maim the student. He's now 15, and his parents, they want to protect his identity. The events have caused him and his family's embarrassment, contempt, and ridicule, according to the lawsuit. None of the allegations have been tested in court. Principal Magnus Hanton and Western Communities Montessori Society deny the allegations and say none of the comments constitute defamation. Westmount is a preschool to grade 12 school in Greater Victoria, areas that teaches students through the Montessori method, a 20th century Italian educational approach that focuses on self-directed activities, hands-on learning outside the classroom. Now, the society and Hanton, who's been Westmount's principal for more than a decade, declined to provide comment on the case due to the ongoing litigation, but noted in a statement that there are always 2 sides to every story. And there is. I understand that. Now, in 2021, while on campus waiting to travel to a provincial park, the teen's classmate offered him and another student a cannabis edible, claiming it was a THC gummy, according to a lawsuit. All 3 students ate at least 1 gummy. At the park, other students informed the teacher that they were made uncomfortable by their peers who ate the gummies. The 3 students had to be picked up by their parents. The teens' notice of civil claim insists that school staff will later determine that the gummies were actually contained CBD, but it doesn't get people stoned. The teen didn't display any psychoactive behaviors after eating the gummies, according to the notice of civil claim. But Hanton and the school deny that the gummies were confirmed to have CBD. Both CBD and THC come from the plant, as we know. Okay. And shortly after they were sent home, Hanton sent a mass email to parents notifying them that marijuana gummies were brought to school, according to the notice of civil claim. While there was no harm intended, we want to impress upon students and families how dangerous and serious this was. In the contents of the opioid crisis, students experimenting with and sharing drugs could have fatal consequences. This behavior ranges from uncomfortable to terrifying for some of the students involved. Hanton expelled the teen, who's now taking legal action, but not the other 2 students, including the one who brought and shared the gummies. Okay, so this kid's got expelled, but he wasn't the one who brought them or shared them. Now, according to this notice of civil claim, Hatton allegedly called the boy a drug dealer multiple times and accused him of pressuring other kids to do drugs during a meeting with the boy, his father, and 2 teachers. Hatton denies saying any of those things during the meeting. He says the boy was expelled because of his past record of making inappropriate comments to younger students and was previously told that he would be expelled if he was involved in another incident, according to the response to the lawsuit. So if he wasn't suspended because of the cannabis, then why the mass email are calling him a drug dealer if he was expelled for making inappropriate comments? Now, Hatton also sent another email to parents after the expulsion. It says, "We've had the opportunity to meet with the families and the 3 students involved and gain some clarity about our steps forward. It is with heavy hearts that we say goodbye to and proceed to write the student's name, saying the school will not be able to best serve his needs." So they're naming the student again. The email also named the other students involved, saying they'd be returning to school after restorative process. Like there is a thing about publishing minors' names. The teen is seeking a swath. The teen is seeking a swath of damages for breach of privacy, loss of reputation, and mental suffering. He alleges that the emails led people to believe that he was solely and primarily responsible for the gummy incident. And in his response to the lawsuit, Hatton argued his email didn't explain why the student was leaving the school and was not defamatory. The response also says Hatton had a moral and ethical interest in notifying parents. Yeah, but you don't need to go naming people, so on and so forth. You just have to say that there's an incident at the school and go from there. So now the expelled student's lawyers alleges in court documents that Hatton decided to expel him after receiving several complaints from parents who were concerned about him attending school with their children. This would come after he exposed them, and he wasn't even the guy who brought them. The lawyer alleges the principal was influenced by the parents because they make donations to the school and sit on the society's board. Hatton and the society deny this claim. Well, I guess you could find that out, I would think. It must be somewhere available. Besides the donation, Westmount parents pay as much as $18,000 a year for the kids to attend the school. The judge has ordered the society to hand over the parents' donation records, despite the organization arguing in court that the donations were irrelevant to the lawsuit and that this case is not one about unfair treatment on the basis of social economic class. Well, it could be for, as they say, they were enticed the money, right? Now, there's a 10-day trial for the suit is scheduled to start in late November. So that's going to be another 10 months from now, and hopefully down the road I'll catch that and we'll be able to get an update on that. And Buddy Weeds, thanks, buddy. Have a great day as well. And Gordo says, blessed to have shared the time. Thank you, Gordo, for tuning in. We do the news twice a week here, Monday morning and Thursday mornings, 10 o'clock here at the P.A.C.E Radio Network and at 420pace.ca. I did have some other stories in a cover, but I've already gone long now. But New Brunswick is looking for some new private cannabis stores. They sent out request, and they're having some problems with some cannabis over in the Dutch coffee shops. They're finding some bacteria and pesticides in it. And the last story that I didn't cover was that a company, Optimal Health, they produces the largest ever batch of MDMA capsules. And yeah, much love to you too. Scotland. Oh, from Scotland. Hey, just so you know, we're from Scotland as well. Got that in the background. That's both my grandparents on both sides. So, and my sister, she knows Gaelic. So, unfortunately, I can't. I don't speak Gaelic, so I can't do it. So, all right. Other than that, people, there's some great. I've had a good time today. Lots of comments coming in, and some news that I wasn't aware of that came to us from Buddy Weeds, a listener of the program. Really appreciate it. All right, guys. Now that's it from the Legacy420.com news desk. That's the news today. I hope you found it educational and informative. Thanks to Legacy420.com, Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, as well as At-Eze.ca and Limestone City Hydroponics.ca. And to you, our viewers, thanks for tuning in. And don't forget, I've been saying this for 15 years, people, since 2008. So is that 15? It's been more than 15 years, 17 years. 17 years now. It's time to educate, medicate, and do not encourage. You're listening to the P.A.C.E Radio Network here at PACERadio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20 is so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partner 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420 enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyndonega Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more. We've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. We are people advocating cannabis education here at PACERadio.net.